Edison Format at my locals, and yeah, I probably won't show you all the cards because it would probably take a lot of time, but I do like to show you some of them, and yeah, seems like an oddly specific topic, but I've got to admit I really enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I started again in like March or April this year, and there is a OTS near my location, like an official tournament store which sells Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and hosts tournaments and locals and stuff like that. And I'm almost once a week on Thursday I'm there, and yeah, I like playing in advanced format and also in Edison Format. Edison Format, if you don't know, is like the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Was played like back in 2010, like almost 15 years ago. So the game is much slower and not as complicated as it is today. One thing I don't really like about Yu-Gi-Oh! In the current advanced format is how complicated and expensive it has gotten. I mean, it was probably already expensive like 10 or probably even 15 years ago. But today it has gotten crazy. So if you're looking after certain cards, you either got the money or you gamble and hope that you pull a nice card out of a booster pack. But everything aside, let's look at a few of my cards in my current Edison deck. I'm playing Frog Monarchs, if you will, a bit a spiced up Frog Monarch build, and yeah, I do think frogs are my favorite archetype in Edison. So, as my native language is German, most of the cards are German too, but if I know the English name, I'll tell you the English name. But actually, let's read also the German name. I do think that's a nice thing to have in this video, like the German name and the English name. The first one I want to show you is Swap Frog, or in German, Austauschfrosch. And as you can see, he looks quite funny. I do really like his artwork. He's like the main engine piece of frogs because he does like literally everything. And in some decks it is still played today in advanced format. The next frog is Dupe Frog, or Täuschungsfrosch. And it looks like he has a PhD, but it's probably fake. Yeah, then we've got what's it called? I don't even know what's it called in English. It's not a frog actually, it's a toad. But I'm not sure was banned at some point. That's how good it was. But let's just call him Tod. I don't remember. His German name is Ersatzkröte. And he's like a searcher for the frog archetype. He looks really nice in Secret Rare. The next frog is Reborn Frog, and I wish I had the original artwork here, but I've only got the Lost Art artwork. It's funny, as a kid I really wanted the Lost Art artwork, like the uncensored artwork. Yu-Gi-Oh! Had a thing or a time in which they heavily censored certain depictions of monsters, like devil horns, religious symbols, or like Dark Magician Girl was considered too sexy to be printed in Europe and North America. So things have changed, and today you've got the long-going Lost Art promotion where you can get the old cards with their original artwork. This is the Lost Art artwork, and I'm not sure if you can see it. There is like this little halo over Reborn Frog. So it's like an angel frog, if you will. The first artwork, the censored artwork that we got in the TCG, didn't have the halo because it was considered a religious symbol, I guess. But I really like this card. It does look nice. I do think we had all the frogs. Let me see what we've got here. Actually, I'm playing not too much Monarchs. I'm going to show you two of them, and the first one is Caius, the Shadow Monarch. And in German it's Caius, der Schattenmonarch. It does sound actually I think in German it sounds a bit more menacing. Caius is like probably one of the best monsters which you can get for Edison Format and play, because if you normal summon him, so like tribute summoning him, he gets on the field and banishes one card, and if it was a dark monster, he even deals 1000 damage, so it's instant advantage, and I've used him in some cases to banish himself to deal 1000 damage and win the game. The next one is Reiser, der Sturmmonarch, or Reiser, the Storm Monarch. He's also really good, but Caius is probably better. Some people don't like gold rare, but I do think Reiser in gold rare looks really awesome. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but the golden borders do make the card pop. I actually really like the original Monarch archetype. There were like semi-boss monsters, if you will. And in advance there was like even a pure Monarch deck which was so strong you could buy free you could buy the structure deck for like 3 times, build your deck, go a championship, and even when you didn't need anything generic or from like other sets or other boosters, it was insane. Alright, let's have a look. There is one old school classic card, and it's Jinzo. And as you would have guessed, in German it's also Jinzo. This is probably one of the most iconic Duel Monsters cards, and if he gets on the field, he negates all trap cards, so quite powerful. The next card is Göttlicher Ritter Ishzark, and I guess it's Divine Knight Ishzark. I'm not sure what it's called in English, but I play him as a random one-off to counter all the floating monsters in Edison, like all the cards that say if this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon another one of its type. They can really be annoying, and if you got him or if you search him with like gold sarcophagus, you can out these cards very easily. Kind of situational, but it has won me a lot of matches, and it's amazing against light sworn decks, as you banish most of the names, and they can summon their Judgment Dragon, which is like probably the ultimate main deck boss monster in Edison, besides Dark Armed Dragon. But the most oppressive and terrifying boss monster in Edison Yu-Gi-Oh!, at least in the main deck, is Light and Darkness Dragon, which is called Drache des Lichts und der Finsternis in German. I've pulled this in quarter century secret rare, like the most premium rarity you can get today, and he looks amazing. It's like the prismatic secret rare effect, I think, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but under the text box there is the logo of the 25th anniversary celebration for Yu-Gi-Oh! He looks amazing, and he's an amazing card, but I play him only as a one-off, because you need 2 monsters to summon, you need to tribute 2 monsters to summon him. He can't be special summoned, and when he hits the field, he's often the nail in the coffin. You practically win the game on the spot. But the thing is, as the Edison format has unfolded and many more players get to experience this old school format, there has been an influx of new decks and innovation, and a lot of them are quite a bit faster than the original format, like Black Wings was always fast, but Vayu Turbo or Dragon Turbo, maybe even the modern variation of Hero Beat, or what is it called? Small Town. You play like mostly Neos Alias, which is a 1900 attack beater, which is big for the time, and a bit of hero support, Skyscraper, which gives him 1000 attack if if he is declaring an attack. Miracle Fusion to bring out Elemental Hero, Absolute Zero, crazy deck, and I'm thinking I'm building it for myself. So I have to look through my collection and look for all the cards. I hope I have most of them, but the next time I get to play Edison is in like 3 or 4 weeks. Whatever. Let's get to the next card. This one is one of the scariest monsters, not because he's super strong or has the best effect or anything, but like he's a jump scare, so you never know if your opponent got one in his hand, and he can turn some games. It's God's Emissary of Darkness, or in German, Gott, der Gesandte der Finsternis. It's got like a quite dark artwork, so not sure if you can see it perfectly. Alright. Let's have a look at some tuna monsters. There is Plague Spreading Zombie, or Seuchenverbreitender Zombie, which is one of the best tuna monsters. It looks quite grotesque, but I've always liked this card. Then we have probably my favorite tuna monster of all time, and it's Chunk Synchron. I like this monster in the anime, and I really like him in Edison too. And he looks quite beautiful in Ultra Rare. Then we have Blackwing Gale, the Whirlwind, oder Schwarzflügel Gale, der Wirbelwind. There is a reason why this card is limited to 1 copy per deck, and in many duels where I've drawn and played him, I really found out why he's so good. You don't have to play him in Black Wings. His effect to half the attack of a monster is crazy. You can out like a Machina Fortress with it. Let me take a sip. My mouth is a bit dry. Alright. Let's look at a few spells and traps. This is a card which has seen much play over the years. It's 1 for 1, or eine für einen. I'm not sure, but I do think it was played in the GX anime also. Then we've got all the back row hate. The first one is Giant Drunade, or Riesendrunade, which has seen a modern version of it, which is not as good, but it solves the problem why Giant Drunade is banned, or was banned. I do think it is still banned to this day. Then we've got Heavy Storm, or Schwerer Sturm. This is like the staple if you want to destroy back row. Cold Wave, or Kalte the cards aside. A card which is unfortunately not as good today as it was in Edison, not because of power creep, but because it got errated. So like, it was literally nerfed. They printed a new text. But this one is actually the original version. It's Brain Control oder Gehirnkontrolle. Then we've got Phoenix Wing Wind Blast or Phoenix Flügelwindstoß. I guess, I'm not sure what's the German name. I've got this card only in English, but it's quite a good card. And last but not least, for our main deck cards is one of my favorite cards of all time, and I do wish I had it in a higher rarity, like Ultimate Rare or at least Ultra or Secret Rare. It's Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion has seen a lot of play over the years, but fun fact, when it was released in Cyber Dark Impact, which it is an original copy of Cyber Dark Impact, it was considered bad, but fast forward 10 to 15 years and it's limited to one for a reason. It's an unbelievably good card if you know how to use it, or if you got the space and the intention to use it. Alright, 15 cards to go, because we are looking at my extra deck. Edison Format wasn't as extra deck summon heavy as it is today, so you'll probably see a lot of the same cards in most of the Edison decks, for a reason, because there aren't that many good extra deck cards, but the newly released synchro cards back in the day did make much difference, and almost any deck would play a few tuners to synchro summon a few good monsters. So the first one we will look at is a fusion monster, not a synchro, and it's Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon or Chimera Tech Festungsdrache. And I do think every deck in Edison does play this card, because it's an instant out to any machine deck, because almost any deck plays Cyber Dragon, which is limited to 2 copies per deck, because Cyber Dragon was, when it was released, a format defining card, because you could easily special summon him if your opponent controls monster and he was a level 5 monster with 2100 attack, which is crazy. So it could like run over most normal summons. And when Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon was released, people did not realize, but you can use your Cyber Dragon to fuse into Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon with any machine type on the field, which is crazy. And there is a little quirk which is used to this day, that even if your Cyber Dragon is for some reason in your spell and trap zone and considered a spell or a trap, which some of the modern decks can do, like Snake Eye or Enigmaster Packbit can also bring Cyberdragon in the spell and trap zone. You still can use him even if he is considered as a spell or trap to fuse him and any machine type monster on the field to go into Chimeritic Fortress Dragon. That's how crazy this card is. And you actually do need to play him because there are quite a few powerful machine decks in Edison Format, like the Machina cards, like Machina Gearframe and Machina Fortress, and gadgets, and some other stuff. Then a literal fusion, or one of the only fusion monsters which is like a literal fusion of its materials. It's Rebound the Nightmare, or in German, Schnitter auf dem Nachtmar, and it's a fusion between Ghost Reaper and Nightmare Horse. So the blue horse is literally the same as depicted on the card Nightmare Horse, and the Reaper is it called Nightmare Reaper? Not sure, but Spirit Reaper is called Spirit Reaper, and this is one of the few cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Which is like a literal combination of the two. I don't hard fuse him, I only use it as an instant fusion target, but maybe one day I'll use him just to have some fun. Then we have Dark Fire Dragon, or Dunkler Fire Drache, which is another instant fusion target. Dann haben wir Flammengeist. I'm not sure what it's called in English. Maybe Flame Ghost or something like that. Not too sure, to be honest. Actually, his type is a zombie, and he looks like a burned zombie, or like a zombie with third-degree burns. Not the nicest artwork, but it will do as an instant fusion target. Then we've got Waffe aus der Waffenkammer, which is Armory Arm in English, and one thing I've realized is that the English name is a literal pun, because if you look at his artwork, he looks like an arm or a weapon in form of an arm, or like a hand. And the pun is it's an armory arm, like an arm weapon. And I do like the German name, because in German it's such a blunt name for Yu-Gi-Oh! That it's actually funny. It means like, literally translated, weapon out of the armory. But the actual pun doesn't translate into German, which is a shame. But a cool card, and I had one in my childhood, and it was one of my favorite synchros. And I do think it was the only level 4 synchro at the time. Then we've got Junk Warrior in Quarter Century Rare, which I pulled, and it has its alternate artwork, and I like this one. Junk Warrior was my first synchro monster I had as a child, and I do like that I pulled him in Quarter Century Secret Rare. I actually enjoy his original artwork too, because his original artwork depicts him in quite a cool stance, but this one is also nice. Did I say his German name is called Gerümpelkrieger? Then we've got Ally of Justice Katastor oder Verbündeter der Gerechtigkeit Katastor. I do think that the Ally of Justice archetype is super weird, but I do think it was intended as like a counter archetype to most light and dark attribute decks. So like all the generic darkness, all the generic darkness attribute decks with like Dark Armed Dragon, Dark Grapha, Armageddon Knight, and so on, and probably Light Swans, as they are all light attribute. Then we've got Bryoneck, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, I think it's called in English, and in German it's Bryoneck, Drache der Eisbarriere. I'm not sure if he is freed from the ban list today, but he's still quite broken. He's actually not once per turn, and he can literally out half a field or even a full field. A whole board, not a full board. Then we've got my boy Goyo Guardian or Goyo Wächter. He looks like a clown, but don't be fooled, this was one of the best cards in Edison. He was quite literally broken. It's a level 5 or level 6 synchro. A level 6 synchro with 2800 attack, and if he destroys a monster, he special summons it on your field in defense position, so you get to steal your opponent's monster and beat up most other good boss monsters in Edison Format. He can even out an Stardust Dragon, which is quite a feat. But this is not an original copy from the time, it's a modern copy, and he also got errated. He was generic in Edison Format, but today you need an Earth Tuner, and there aren't too many good Earth Tuners out there in the game. And Power Creep also got my boy Goyo Guardian, because he's not as good anymore. There are far too many other good extra deck cards that you can play, and even if he was considered good today, nobody would play him, because the best Earth Tuner in the game, which is of Blühende Blumenzwiebel, Glow Up Bulb, I think it was. Was it Glow Up Bulb? I do think it's like a level 1 plant monster, which specials itself back from the graveyard at the cost of putting a card from the top of your deck into the graveyard. Next one. I always wanted to have this card in my childhood. I thought it was such a cool concept with the old junk archetype. It is the amazing Junk Archer oder Gerümpelbogenschütze. He's not too strong, but sometimes he does come in quite handy, as he banishes a monster regardless of his position, so you can even banish a face-down monster or Marshmallow or a Spirit Reaper. Marshmallow and Spirit Reaper can't be destroyed by battle, so they are quite hard to get over, and he clears the way, and in the best case you can OTK or finish your opponent by battle. Really nice card. Then we've got Schwarzflügel Rüstungsmeister, which is Blackwing Armor Master, and a friend of mine got him in back in the days in our childhood, and I thought this card was so cool, but I never got one, and even then I wouldn't have put him in my deck because I couldn't play him. You need a Blackwing tuner to special him, but his artwork is sick, and his effect is even better. He can't be destroyed by battle, and if he battles a monster, he puts like a counter on that monster, and you can use his other effect to remove the counter, and if a monster gets his counter removed, its attack is changed to 0. One of the most infamous cards in the whole game, still played to this day in a few decks, is Black Rose Dragon or Schwarze Rosendrache, and it has an unbelievably beautiful artwork. I really like it. I had one as a kid, but I always thought it was odd that you summon Black Rose Dragon, use its effect to destroy every card on the field, including itself. That was a bit weird for me as a kid, because I thought that's quite a useless effect, because why would you summon him with one tuner and one non-tuner just to blow up the whole board and have nothing left? It made no sense, but as I've grown older, I got it, and it is a nice card in the right situation. That's one of the earlier prints, I think. He has an alternate artwork, but I've never seen it in real life. Such a nice artwork. It was one of the Signer Dragons in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds in the anime, if I remember correctly. Then we've got another Signer Dragon, probably the most iconic monster from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and it's Stardust Dragon or Sternenstaubdrache. And this one is quarter century rare. Yeah, it's quarter century rare. Looks quite nice. Looks like it's really made of Stardust. He's one of the best cards you could play back then, because you could tribute him when an opponent activates an effect that would destroy a card on the field and negate the activation of the card and destroy that card, and then you could special summon him again from the graveyard at the end of the turn. Sorry, I hope I'll cut it out. Alright, then we've got a third Signer Dragon, and it's Red Dragon Archfiend, which was probably, in terms of its attack, the most powerful one of the 5 dragons. But actually, I don't think he's that good. He can out a few defensive boards, but that's about it, actually. I don't play him that often. He doesn't come up that much, but with 3000 attack, he is quite the beatstick. And last but not least, another card from my childhood, which is not its original printing, but his gold rare printing, which is also a few years old, is Colossal Fighter. I think it's in English. In German it's Kolossaler Kämpfer. And he's it's quite ironic because he's a better beater or a better beatstick than Red Dragon Archfiend, and I do make him quite often in the right situation, even though he's only got 2800 attack because he gains 100 attack for every warrior monster in both graveyards, and if he's destroyed by battle, you can special summon one warrior monster in your graveyard. So, like, the thing is, if you read the card correctly, he can special summon himself back, which is quite funny in some scenarios, as your opponent shrinks your monster or halves its attack with like Gale or something, runs over your fighter, and he just special summons himself back when he's destroyed, and there is the problem again. So quite a funny card. Most cards that float into another monster today can't float into themselves or in another copy. So I don't know if that was intentional or if that was an oversight by Konami, but quite funny actually. There are many cool things and scenarios in Edison Format. I do enjoy it quite much. It's a more relaxed version of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I do think it's the most beginner-friendly format there is in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because the Gold format, which is even more even older, is either super slow or super broken. Most decks just rely on some crazy combos that were legal back then, before they got banned in the modern formats. But most games are, because as most games are pretty slow, as you draw and top deck and draw and draw and draw for a few turns, and nothing happens until a player gets his combo in his hands, and then he pops off and he wins the game in the most crazy way possible. So like Goat isn't really beginner friendly in terms of deck building and actual gameplay, and Plant Tango or Tango format I don't think is as beginner friendly as Edison. Maybe Head format is a bit beginner friendly, but everything after that, like DOS format, so Thunder Dragons, Orchest, Sky Striker, and what was the last one? I'm not sure what the last S of DOS stands for actually. I'm not sure about it. Yeah, the other formats aren't as beginner friendly, and they got their own issues. I won't say that Edison doesn't have some issues. There are a few cards which are really annoying or really oppressive, like literally Royal Oppression is probably the most toxic card in this format. And Tribe Dust Root is such an annoying card because most of the time, if it resolves, it wins the game on the spot. You have to realize Edison isn't as consistent and as advantage heavy as it is, as advanced format is. So if your opponent resolves Trip Dust Root and looks into your hand and takes away your only starting card or your only boss monster, then it's probably game over. But yeah, as we say in German, manchmal gewinnen. What's the wie heißt der Spruch? Manchmal verliert man, manchmal gewinnen die anderen, which translates to sometimes you lose and sometimes the others win. Yeah, that's life. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope you did find this video a bit relaxing. Before I end it, I wanted to say I changed my light setup a bit. I do think it looks a bit better and more friendly than last time. I actually enjoyed, or I do enjoy overhead lighting like in the Godfather movie, but I don't think it's appropriate for ASMR purposes as like everything looks so dark and too mysterious and too gloomy and maybe even a bit creepy. I don't think Godfather lighting or overhead lighting is that good for ASMR, but whatever. I think the new the setup is better. I hope the audio is okay, and yeah. Let me know in the comments if you play Edison Format or if you play Yu-Gi-Oh! At all, and I'm curious which deck you're playing or what your favorite deck is. And yeah, please leave some kind of feedback if you will. And I'll see you next time. Until then, have a good sleep.